Girl with an unusual gift. She is never shy about confessing her feelings to handsome boys. When she develops a crush on a classmate, she tells him right away. To her surprise and joy, he admits he likes her too, and C bursts into tears of happiness. But fate is cruel. The very next day, the boy suddenly transfers to another school, leaving her heartbroken. As the years pass, C changes. Her hair no longer stays straight the way it once did, unlike her twin sister, Hai. She begins to wonder if this difference is the result of inheriting her father's jealousy. Later, she secretly falls for a neighbor boy and even prepares a gift for him. On the day she gathers courage to confess, the boy comes to knock at her door, but he asks to see Hai, not her. That bitter experience makes Sage promise herself never to confess again. That promise is shattered when she meets Hyein by the beach. With a body graceful as the waves, he captures her heart instantly. The next day, Hyein appears at school, drawing admiration from everyone. But to everyone's shock, he waves at C, leaving her frozen while her friends stare in curiosity. Embarrassed, she explains she happened to meet him on the beach the day before. In class, C sees the mock exam rankings and notices Hyein among the top 100, which grants him entry to the evening self-study room. She and her friends watch Hyein play basketball. Surrounded by admiring girls, C decides to stand out. She buys him a drink, writes her name on it, and asks the canteen owner to deliver it, but the owner already knows who it's for. Many girls had made the same request that day. Outside, C meets her curly-haired friend In, who is also holding a water bottle for Hyein. After school, C returns to the beach, hoping Hyein will appear again. She bribery in the sea, but instead, another boy shows up, and when her shirt drifts into the water, he reaches for it, but falls in. He cannot swim, and Sage rushes to save him. The very next day, that same boy, Zuck, transfers into C's school and class. His leg is in a cast from the incident, and the two immediately recognize each other. The teacher introduces him. The following morning, she sees him struggling with his cast and insists on helping, though he refuses. The supervisor scolds another student, Zeong, for standing idle and orders him to help instead. Later, C is scolded for not wearing her name tag. She lies, saying it must have disappeared, though in truth it is still with Juk, who hasn't returned it. At lunch, C and her friends bring food for Shuk, surprising him with their kindness. When others ask if C really saved him at the beach, Jayak stays silent, but Sage jumps in proudly and claims credit. Laughing, she even says he now owes her favors. He should hold her umbrella, bring her food, and buy them ice cream. Zook cannot refuse. Later, her friends make her a new name tag. Jayuk almost returns the original, but when he overhears someone saying, "Maybe the one who took your name tag did it because they like you," he quietly pulls his hand back. Just as she finishes, a ball suddenly flies at her. Back in class, C's close friends revealed that In-chong's hair had somehow become perfectly straight again. Shocked, when she asked, she discovered that In-chong had her hair straightened at Jangmai Salon for an expensive price of 200,000 won. Curiosity and hope drove C and her friends to visit the salon. Returning home, she gathered all the money she had saved, but the amount was nowhere near enough for the treatment. Heartbroken, she went back to the salon just to look when she suddenly overheard Suk addressing the owner as Mom. An outrageous idea formed in her mind. The next day, she began treating Zuck with unusual warmth, greeting him differently than before. After school, she pretended to bump into him right outside the salon and casually asked what he was doing there. He revealed that the salon belonged to his mother. Without hesitation, C ran inside, introducing herself as his close friend and even reminding his mother that she had once saved his life at the beach. She promised to look after him at school, and in return, she hinted at wanting her hair straightened. His mother smiled and agreed. She walked him to class, helped him during lessons, and made sure he returned home safely. She even assisted his mother in handing out flyers to promote the salon's reopening. One rainy afternoon, she led him to her father's warehouse for shelter, lending him her father's clothes. Inside were stacks of her comic books. When she asked if he liked reading, Zook admitted he never had, which left her surprised. She eagerly picked out her favorites for him and even gave him the lock's password so he could come any time. At the same time, C and her friends began folding origami beads to prepare for her confession to Hyun. They heard Miji, her rival, was folding 1,000, so they set their sights on 10,000. That evening, C walked to Zook's house in tears. She left the jar of origami beads with him, then turned away and left quietly. Later, when she returned to her father's warehouse, she found the door unlocked. Inside, Zayak sat reading comics, still clinging to her dream. Se said she would confess to Hyun only once her hair was straight, believing that was the only way he would ever like her. The following day, Sage arrived at Zook's house to take him to school, only to find his leg already free from its cast. She was thrilled. His mother reminded her of her promise that once he healed, she could finally straighten her hair. At school, students gathered around the results of the latest mock exam. To everyone's surprise, Zayak's name appeared among the top ranks. He had worked tirelessly knowing that C needed someone to secure a place in the evening self-study room. One day, a neighbor came to Se's house and spoke with her mother about Jangmi's family, the owners of the hair salon. They said Jangmi's son, Zauk, was one of the brightest in the school, and that his father was a professor at a prestigious university hospital. C's mother wondered why such an accomplished family would be forced to move here. The neighbor explained the painful truth. The husband was consumed by jealousy, often mistreated his wife and turned his frustrations onto his son, leaving the boy wounded, isolated, and forced to skip school and exams. C, sitting nearby, overheard everything and her heart ached. That evening, passing by her father's warehouse, C noticed the light on. Inside, she saw her father sharing instant noodles with Juk. Her father even handed him a disposable camera, saying there were many more inside and he could use them whenever he liked. The next morning at school, she noticed a poster about the upcoming picnic. Immediately, she began imagining it as the perfect chance to confess to Hyun. While she and her friends discussed the plan, Hyun walked by. As always, he waved at C and once again, her heart danced. During gym class, everyone paired up for a handball game. A girl quickly partnered with Hyun, leaving C to team up with Zaak. The game grew tense. Hyun targeted the blue team, and C nearly took a hit, but Zayak shielded her again and again. Then, in a reckless moment of love, C threw herself in front of the ball to protect Hyun, an act that left Zayak bitterly disappointed. That evening, C received a voice message from Hyun, thanking her for saving him during the game. She was overjoyed. But moments later, another message arrived, this time from Zach. His voice was filled with concern. He asked if she was in pain, scolded himself for leaving her behind, and told her not to be stubborn, but to buy ointment for faster healing. C's emotions swirled as she listened to both messages, one filling her with giddy joy, the other with warmth and confusion. Later, she went to the salon where Zock's mother asked her to wash his hair. Both felt awkward in the closeness of the situation. But when Zock accidentally applied conditioner before shampoo, his mother frowned in confusion. He knew better. He never made such mistakes. He excused himself quickly, and C began to suspect his feelings. The school picnic arrived. As the bus filled, C stepped on with straight, glossy hair that stunned everyone. Sitting in the back, Zook watched quietly, his mood dark. At the picnic site, C carefully placed her jar of paper beads on Hyun's seat. That night, the group decorated a special spot for her confession. Guided by arrows, Hyan arrived. Surprised to find only Sai waiting there, he complimented her straight hair, admired the jar of beads, and thanked her again for saving him. Then, Hyan mentioned the beach that Ande, saying only the two of them knew about it. C froze. He didn't know that Zayak had been there too. In that instant, she saw Zayak quietly turning to leave. Her heart clenched and clarity washed over her. She looked at Hyun and confessed, "I like you very much, and I brought you here tonight to confess." But when I was about to speak, I kept thinking about someone else. I believed I needed to change myself to be liked, to become beautiful for someone's eyes. But when I am with him, I never feel the need change. I can simply be myself. The person she spoke of was none other than Shook. She returned to the group. Her friends, eager to know if her confession had succeeded. She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes silently followed Zayuk. The next day, Zayuk, unaware of what had truly happened, avoided Sai at every turn. That night, he saw the light glowing in the warehouse. He hesitated outside, torn by his own emotions before finally stepping in, knowing that Sage would be waiting there. On the table inside the warehouse, C had quietly prepared new books for Zook. The two of them sat in silence for a while, neither daring to break quiet. Finally, Sage turned to him and asked softly, "Aren't you curious about what happened at the confession? Don't you want to know?" She admitted she hadn't confessed to Hyen. Surprised, Zook asked, "Why?" C smiled faintly and replied, "Because I want to focus on studying, but don't tell the others." The next day at school, C's heart sank a little when she saw Ja chatting with the curly-haired girl. A flicker of jealousy crept in, though she tried to hide it. That night, Jaok's mother noticed a large gift sitting on the sofa. When she asked about it, Jaok explained that C had asked him to buy a really big candy. He then told his mother that he intended to take the university entrance exam next year. Shocked, she reminded him that he once said he'd rather die than take it. Soon after, Zuck went to C's house, bringing her the oversized candy gift she had requested. As he turned to leave, C suddenly stopped him to ask if he was close to In. Without hesitation, he assured her he was not. Then, wishing her luck on her exam, he left. The day of the entrance exam arrived. Among the well-wishers, Sai received a special surprise, a giant gift bag from a cheerful bear mascot. When the costume came off, it was none other than Zook. Her heart swelled with warmth. In the following days, while waiting for results, C's group gathered to eat spicy rice cakes. But C excused herself, saying she had to help her mother. Jaok also claimed he had errands at home. Suspicious, the group followed, and to their amazement, they discovered C and Zok secretly meeting. They could hardly believe their eyes. Later, C and Zok returned to the beach where they had first met. C asked him why he had jumped into the sea that day. His eyes darkened as he explained that he had been overwhelmed by misery, letting his thoughts drift to what might happen if he let the waves take him. But then through the water, he saw her swimming. Her presence pulled him back to life. Slowly, he handed her the name tag he had kept all this time, confessing that he had held on to it as a reminder of the person who saved him. He gently took her hand, looked into her eyes, and told her that he loved her. Neither wanted to part when they returned home, their hands clinging until C leaned in and placed a shy, tender kiss on his lips. Her cheeks burned, but her heart felt at peace. Back at home, Seek's mother told him that on Sunday, she had to go up to Seoul to pick up a new hairdryer. He asked if she needed him to come along, but she shook her head and told him to stay behind to look after the shop. The next day, Se had a family picnic. Before leaving, she didn't forget to call Suk, and during their conversation, she kept reminding him about Sunday, the day of their promised date. Right after that, Se called her close group of friends. She asked them to help prepare everything for her big confession to Seok at the beach. Finally, that special Sunday arrived. While the group was busy decorating the location, Se and Seok had already arrived. Seeing this, everyone quickly hurried into their assigned positions, following the plan. Standing a little distance away, Sage signaled for her friends to stop, but they didn't understand her meaning. At that exact moment, Seek received a text message from someone and said he needed to step aside to make a phone call. At that moment, Seek received a message. His face grew grim. His mother had been hospitalized. Apologizing to C, he rushed away to Seoul. At the hospital, Zok found his mother unconscious in a coma with his father standing coldly at her side. His father claimed she had fallen down the stairs. Then, instead of showing concern, he turned the blame on her, saying she had ruined Zaekok's studies and failed as a mother. C clenched his fists, certain his father was lying, convinced his mother had been pushed. His father ignored his anger and ordered him to go home. Days passed, and no one could reach Zak. When C and her friends visited his house, they found the shop shuttered with a for rent sign. Confused and worried, C remembered that his father was a professor at Seoul National University Hospital. Desperate, she took a bus into the city. At the hospital, she asked for patient Jangmi and was directed to the room where she overheard a chilling conversation. Zuk's father coldly told his wife and son that they were leaving for America immediately. If they returned home again, they would never escape his grip. Tears streamed down the faces of mother and son, neither wanting to leave but both powerless. Standing outside the door, C heard every word, her chest tightening with dread. That night, C dialed a public phone. When Juk's voice answered, she froze, and then, heartbreaking words escaped her lips. She denied all her feelings for him. Sage's voice trembled through the phone as she forced the words out. "Say, I've only ever seen you as a friend. I'm telling you this so you won't misunderstand. From now on, we don't need to see each other again." She said it not because her heart wanted to, but because she understood the impossible situation he was facing. She didn't want him to sacrifice everything because of her. That night, C cried endlessly, knowing this was the last time she might ever speak to the boy she truly loved. Days later, the school held its graduation ceremony. C, to the surprise of her homeroom teacher, graduated with honors. Yet even as she smiled for photographs and held her certificate, her heart was heavy. Looking at the yearbook pictures of her class only deepened her longing for Suk. Unable to bear the weight of her memories, C went to the warehouse, the place where all their shared moments seemed frozen in time. On a bookshelf, she found a notebook that Seok had left behind. On its cover, in his handwriting, were the words, "Love Chronicle." Inside, she discovered photo after photo of herself and their group of friends. In every image, Sak had written small notes capturing her expressions. Whether happy or sad, laughing or crying, he had loved everything about her. Not because she was perfect, but simply because she was Sai. She was not only the girl who had once saved him at the beach, she was the one who had pulled him out of the darkness of his life, the one who had saved him from his own nightmares. "I can't meet you today. I'm not feeling well." It was the kind of excuse she had used before, a message she never thought he would reply to, but this time his answer was different. He replied, "You look just fine to me." Her phone rang, and before she could comprehend, a familiar voice called her name from behind. She turned, and there he was, Say, standing right there on the sand. Disbelief turned into overwhelming relief. Saji ran forward and threw her arm.